Val, as the editor of FESPA World, you probably have an excellent overview of the state of the market. What are you seeing?
Well, obviously, all sides of the industry have suffered because of the current economic downturn, because it's all about advertising and promotions, and of course those budgets have been slashed. In any recession, they're always the first budgets to be slashed, which isn't really what ought to happen, but invariably does. So I think that all printers have noticed a big downturn in their business, and I think that for the first couple of months of this year it was really, really tough. I think there was a great feeling of the industry sitting on its hands waiting to see what happened, and then I think people have sort of gradually pulled themselves together and realised that if all they do is sit on hands, their businesses will go down the tubes very, very quickly. So they've started to do things and become more proactive. And I think also they're beginning to realise that what they did before for customers isn't going to be enough. You've got to give them an added reason to buy from printers. So I think always in difficult times, it's also an opportunity for change, and it's an opportunity for people to become more innovative. And it's the innovative companies who survive this intact and sometimes doing a lot better.
And are there parts of the market that are actually bucking the trend and defying the recession to do very well?
I think any company who's serving a niche sector is doing a lot better, because those are the sort of areas where cost isn't so important. When people really want something, the price is the last thing that they ask. But I think that if you're competing with hundreds of other companies to do the normal posters, billboards, building wraps, whatever, I think that those companies are finding it very hard indeed at the moment.
So bearing in mind you have been covering some of these companies that are doing a very good job in the face of pretty dire economic conditions, what advice and guidance would you share with companies who might be finding it just a bit tough out there?
I think it's look at all of the areas surrounding what you're actually doing, and to see whether there is any new area where you actually have the skills in-house, you have the resources, and to see whether you can capitalise on that just to offer something different. And if I were a printer here today, I'd be looking at the equipment that would enable me to do something different from the things that my competitors are doing. For example, there's a company here called Atlantic Zizer, which is actually a company that specialises in narrow web printing, and it's got really quite a nice little machine that can print onto labels, and it can do medical labelling, and those are sort of areas which tend to be recession proof as far as anything can be. So it's looking at new things that you can do and looking at the equipment that might be able to, that might enable you to offer different things to your clients, or even go to new companies, people who you've never worked for before, to do something that's sort of outside your normal remit.
This year's theme at the exhibition is about revolution. Do you feel from your own studies that we're actually seeing some kind of revolution in the industry at the moment?
I think in any industry there's always a proportion of people who are much more visionary than their peers, and they're always the early adopters of any new technology, and they don't really think about the downsides. They enjoy the risk and they forge ahead, and those are the companies that always do well, and I think that those are the revolutionary companies. You know, I think it's not a case now of going to a client and saying, what do you want me to do? It's a case of going to a client and saying, these are the wonderful things that I can do for you, and this is how it's going to impact on your business, and you really need something super at the moment to bring your customers in. And I think those sort of companies always have an edge, and that's what I would call a revolutionary, and there are plenty of them around.
As editor of the industry magazine, I'm sure you're a huge advocate for the power of PR. What hints and tips would you give to organisations that might enable them to exploit the publicity angles?
Well, I think one of the great pities is that there are an enormous amount of companies in this sector, both the ones who are selling equipment and materials and the ones who are actually doing the printing, who are so shy of talking about their capabilities. So the more proactive companies are, the more publicity they get. Most trade magazines have very limited editorial capacity, so we're very reliant on people telling us what they're doing, and then we can investigate it further. If you don't want to write a story, we can write the story for you, but we need the basic info to start with. And I'd say for printers, if you do a fantastic project, then take photographs of it. Then I can do the story about that. I'm always short of really good application stories. And that's really what other people are interested in seeing. If you've done something that's inspiring, share it.
With all the economic pressures, is this green and environmental issue still number one, or has it been kind of knocked off the pedestal?
I think inevitably there's less focus on green products now. Last year every other press release I got was on something green related, and that's certainly fallen off now. And I think that when companies are competing very fiercely on price, they don't want to do anything that is going to put the cost up anymore. But having said that, a lot of industry manufacturers and suppliers have invested heavily in introducing green products, and they're not going to stop that just because there's a recession. You know, they put a lot of research and development into coming up with new alternatives. And so I think that there might be a little sort of a pause, but I think that the green movement is going to continue, but sort of gathering more momentum as it goes. And I think that lots of companies, lots of big retailers have actually nailed their colours firmly to the mast. You know, you're talking Asda, Tesco, Marks and Spencer in the UK, and they've been so forceful about stating their green policies that they can't afford to backtrack now. And certainly printers who have big retail customers are having to tackle the green issue. And so, you know, we might not be hearing quite so much about it at the moment, but it doesn't mean to say that it's not going on.
So you will have no complaints if you get back from this exhibition and discover that your inbox is just bursting with stories and articles and pictures.
Yeah, I want to know everything that you're doing, all of the wonderful applications, lots and lots of wonderful pictures. Yes, I think we'd all be absolutely thrilled if we had more information.
Val, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.